Hello, folks, and welcome. Welcome to NTT Gaming's tryout of newer players, which they hope to groom over the course of time. My name is Veewake. Joining me for this one is going to be Floki. Floki, are you there? Okay, Floki's just getting his Discord sorted. But yeah, I think this is a somewhat huge move for Indian esports in the sense that I think for the first time in Dota, we are having tryouts of any nature. And this is entity giving back. I mean, they get a lot of flack that Indian organization, Filipino players, strong tones of nationalism in public forums. But yeah, their coach, Scantzor, along with their 5 position, Jobeezy, they're going to be basically pubbing with batches of players. They found this to be the quickest way to narrow down the 2 players that they want to finally take this through with. And yeah, so we are in our first pub. It is Scantzor, along with a bunch of Divine One players. That was the minimum criteria for this. Joining me for this one is Floki. Floki, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
I can hear you loud and clear. Perfect.
So yeah, all you have to do is trace me and watch through me.
That's exactly what I'm doing. So,
Yep.
Scat picks a witch doctor. This is an all-pick lobby, I'm assuming?
Yep. So they aren't lobbies
So,
actually.
I mean, pub, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. So he's going to take turns pubbing with batches of players. They found this to be the quickest way to narrow down to 2 applicants. There have been a lot of applicants, and they're doing at least 4 batches tonight. We should be covering 1 or 2 of those because it is getting later. Speaking of the players, I don't seem to recognize any of these names other than Max. I'm not
Yeah,
sure where I've
the-
seen that name before.
Yeah, even I recall seeing Max. I'm not sure if it was in the Arena or ESL India Premiership, which tournament, but I do recall seeing that name, if not this season, probably the previous season
Right.
of ESL.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
But
Grimstroke, he's all the rage these days. What do you think you do against this hero?
just jump him, actually.
I mean,
Uh,
he's not the kind of hero you'd really want to jump, to be honest. I mean, when you think about it, Grimstroke is, I mean, you're really committing for a position for support, which, to be honest, is not really worth it.
okay, Floki, you died. You're having a little bit of packet loss.
He's a very weird hero in the sense that you want to try and ignore him, I think, in fights if possible. Like, just control him up, or if possible, get AoE spells. And yeah, they picked the #1 counter to Grimstroke, in my opinion, which is a Dark Willow. Because,
Um, Floki, you're having a little bit of packet loss. Hopefully, we can get that sorted. I think it's just a Discord issue from your end. Maybe we can change the server or something, but hopefully you should be back soon. For now, you've gone silent. They're gonna pick up the invoker now. The clockwork pick was kind of smart because he can just jump that lone druid, cog him up, and be ignored by the savage row. Wouldn't be too affected if the cog's already there. So that's one good way to close the gap on top of that lone druid. Not a particularly favored hero in this meta, but yeah, Max at least he's shown so far that he drops smart. T-Dog has picked up the invoker for himself. I personally feel that a lot of players are going to try their hardest to get in, and it might just boil down to the. I mean, if Scanzo sees my invoker, he's going to pick me up kind of mentality. But I'm sure it's a lot more than that. Sure, the judging, communication, team play, a general idea of what you want to draft, and yeah. Their opponent's not going easy on them either. You got Lina and Ogre.
Put yourself online. I am disconnected from the game, and I cannot reconnect without you.
What? Okay. Let me just. Aha. I was offline. Okay. Floki's still getting his internet issues sorted out. He should be with us momentarily. But yeah, draft. I mean, it is a pub, so one wouldn't normally pay too much attention to the draft, but the Die have a pretty strong lineup. Already hearing that soundtrack at the very beginning of this game. I mean, Scanso in this game will probably be judging them not by how individually skilled they are, but how they function as a team. It's also an odd number of players to pick up. I mean, Entity are only looking to pick up 2 players out of this selection process. I'm not sure if they already have a third in mind. They'll be playing along with these 2. What the scene is, but yeah, they're going to pick up 2 players for the time being. Okay, just Floki has decided to drop off. I'm going to be taking you through the game. And yeah, I'm level 1 disconnect, instant pause. This is very classic Indian competitive Dota. Hopefully T-Dog can join us soon. Clockwork seems to be playing the 4 position. And yeah, Floki's letting us know that I can take this game through. Okay. Lina versus Invoker. This should be a matchup that should favor the Lina. What T-Dog is probably going to hope is to draw even in this matchup and not fall behind in terms of EXP. I mean, with the current trend of just glyphing the creep wave so that you get the range deny or punish the enemy mid laner and ensure that you make him make mistakes, we might see this Invoker just pop that Sunstrike and get that range creep. Desperate times calls for desperate measures, and he might just have to do that. It seems as if they're running an aggressive tri lane here down bottom. Now, I'm not sure if this is something that Scantzor has called out or if one of the other players in his team decided to run this aggressive tri lane. I think what the aggressive tri lane also does is Scan keeps a closer watch on 2 players, and he can judge them from just playing with them in the same lane and understanding how they communicate, what the synergy is like. Now, these are all Indian players, and they are used to communicating in their native tongue, just like all of us. So they probably want to make an effort to just talk a bit more and talk sense. Again, like I mentioned, historic moment for India in a sense that this is the first time that we really had any sort of a selection process for players and any sort of a mentorship system for players. I'm just going to quickly text mute all these players. Okay. Yeah. Although stuff like this has happened in the past, Optic India was somewhat recruited in a similar fashion. It's never happened in Dota. Never happened in Indian Dota. And Scantzor and Entity, along with Job, creating history here. Aggressive tri lane up against an Ogre and a Lone Druid. The Bristleback happy to trade punches early on, getting those quill spray stacks going. And he's got the cast to follow it up. Now Max has the cogs, will look to push back the Ogre. Nicely done. Bristleback dropping low, but he's going to survive Lone Druid. Finds the trade, do good, die great. Did good, and doesn't die either. So that's a lot of gold going over to the Lone Druid. 390 gold for the kill onto the Bristleback, while the Bristleback got only 285 for bringing down the Ogre. So I think the Radiant are going to be more than happy with this trade. And if anything, the big win for the Dire is that the Lone Druid is low on consumables. And this is a small window which the Bristleback can look to abuse. Scantzor goes right back up top. And boy, good old Grimstroke up to no good. The Bramble Mace connects. Scander's got to be careful there. The Bloodseeker not looking too good either. And the Shadow Realm mate. That is sloppy play. And Scantzor, he's definitely going to be taking notes on that one. But yeah, this Radiant offlane applying a lot of pressure. 2 of the most puzzling and ridiculous heroes in the game at the same time. The thing about Grimstroke is that he has many weird interactions. Fortunately, the Witch Doctor interaction has been patched out. The cast doesn't bounce infinitely. But yeah, he's still got issues. Earth Spike, one of those weird spells that actually procs on Soulbind. I think it hits 3 times. But doesn't get reflected by the Lotus Orb. So I believe the basic fundamental of Soulbind is that it only casts spells, forces spells to proc, which can trigger a Lincoln Sphere charge. So an Urn of Shadows would be no good with Soulbind. I mean, just think about it. Soulbind, Spirit Vessel, it's kind of ridiculous. But spells like the Laguna Blade are somewhat good. Max just running in the mid lane. He's going to throw his body forward, and there's not much Young can do. Thanks picking up that kill. And yeah, getting effective early on. It is, again, there is a reason that 4 positions fell out of this meta. And we started to see more just 2-1-2 action or just straight up side lanes. It's because of where the creep waves meet. I think that was one of the biggest patches in Dota indirectly. It's really hard to gank the mid lane, and although, I mean, people are picking Earth Spirit every now and then, it's very hard to have any sort of impact as a roamer early on. Even the games where he was picked, he did struggle to find EXP. Up top, Max is going to go in with the Battery Assault, has the cogs. The Bramble Maze not affecting him. He'll now walk into with the Cask and the Maledict on point. The Alpha Wolves even chipping in. Everyone wants to be a part of Entity, and Max wants to as well. He's getting active nice and early. He's found a little bit of success, and with the Thirst, they should find a Jig, and Max and Scan, they'll share the gold for that one. Down bottom, Bristleback. How's he looking? He's got his boots up. The Ogre hasn't really succeeded all that much in pushing him out of the lane. And you've constantly got this Lone Druid Bear who's just going base, and if not mistaken, he's picking up consumables for the hero and whatnot. Yeah. He's got his own courier. And I think the best part about the Lone Druid is that with the Bear and Savage Row, you can nearly pick up pretty much all the bounty runes on your side of the map. I mean, if anybody comes to contest it, you can just Savage Row them up. Up top, a little bit of action. Dark Willow not fully utilizing that. Inkswell doesn't get the stun to proc. The tendrils don't connect on anyone. Faith caught in the cogs. Maledict upon him. He's got to be careful. Max still looking to run down. Has the Battery Assault. Faith, one last Inkswell. Is it enough? He Fairy Fire stays alive. Not for long. Scant gets the kill. A Jig trying to man-fight the Bloodseeker. Now it is 2 points in the Shadow Realm. It is a good amount of damage, but it's not going to get him the kill. And BLR looks to come back in. Max is there with the cogs. The pushback as well. The Thirst Axe still not quite there, but the Cask is. And without the Shadow Realm, this should be a death. They'll drop the Ink Tendrils, or the Ink Swell rather, onto a Jig, and he's going to end up surviving the Bramble Maze procs. Max probably overstepped his bound there and might just end up falling. Shadow Realm mate, not there. A Jig even drops an Observer Ward, but the Shadow Realm had timed out the Ink Swell. Clips the Bloodseeker. Not the Ink Swell. What is that paintbrushy? Stroke of Fate. New hero, new spells. Still haven't learned them. There's the Inkswell and the Stroke of Fate. Neat little play there coming out from Faith. Just abusing the movement speed you get from the Inkswell. And my god. I think one of the most interesting things about Grimstroke is Stroke of Faith. And I have to finally say that we have a legit new counter for Broodmother. So basically how Stroke of Faith works is it does more damage for every unit it passes through. Kind of like the opposite of Power Shot. So Broodmother, Spiderlings, yay, a lot of damage. And a lot of farm. You nearly can clear up all those Spiderlings at once. And that magic resistance not enough on those Spiderlings. Either Brood gets buffed even more or Stroke of Faith gets nerfed. Scan for now, goes to the mid lane, says hi to Hang and backs off. Down bottom, Max just trying to duel it out with Miracle. Now the Hellblast Smasher did chip in with the clap, and that's going to be enough. Max pops his stick charges. And yep. Oh, the miss. The miss is there, but it's not enough. And the problem is they're finding a support. They're feeding away a core to the enemy. They're feeding away a support to the enemy core. So this isn't exactly working out as planned for this bottom lane. I mean, the Clockwork, he's been active early on. But if it was the Lone Druid that he was bringing down, that would be a value pick-off. I'm sure Scantzor's taking notes. Mid lane, Grimstroke gonna TP in. Doesn't have the Veil yet. Goes for the Veil, interesting pickup. The hero already has a lot of armor. There's the stun proccing. And T-Dog alive by virtue of that 1 point in Vex. It's gonna be enough. Faith, even tossing out a Stroke of Fate doesn't quite get the hit. Not sure if it would have been enough though. But yeah, I mean, if Scantzor goes back and sees this, oh, T-Dog almost sniped at his own shrine, will survive a little while longer. The Shadow Realm hit is there. Cursed round will end up proccing, but a Jig without the Bedlam can't find this kill all by himself, but he's got backup. Faith is running in with the Inkswell, looks for the shot, but Max with the cogs keeps his Invoker alive, and he'll turn it around. Sunstrike on point, a double kill for T-Dog as the Radiant dive a bit too recklessly at the Dire Shrine. Down bottom, do good. Putting in the work, pushing the Bristleback out of lane. And I'm not sure if this is going to pan out all too well. They deal with the bear first. Lone Druid not much without his bear, but Miracle with the Ignite will manage to tick down that Bristleback. Scan with the high value rotation gets a kill onto the Lone Druid. 341 gold for him. And I mean, he's even chasing for more, but I really don't think he can find this all by himself. 8 minutes 34 seconds in. Scan doing better as far as EXP is concerned in comparison to this Clockwork, but the Clockwork is just going to run right in. Has the cogs, and this should be a death onto the Ogre. The Thirst Axe helping out the Bloodseeker. The Sunstrike, an attempt to secure the kill, coming out a bit too late. And Bristleback, he's got both the supports to back him up, so that aggression not unjustified. Scanned. Well, he'll get the Maldic to proc. The Savage Row is there. Do good drag rate. Has got to be careful. The Quill sprays doing work, and this Lone Druid might just end up taking down. Now they got the Thirst, so they have perfect vision, and Bristleback will dive and die for that one kill onto the Lone Druid. Fortunately, the gold was split, and Max is going to dive yet again. Now he's going to try and bring down the Ogre. If any other core on the map did rotate bottom, this could have been a death on the Clockwork, but instead it's Scan who picks up the kill, sits on a dominating streak, and even sits quite close to the Bristleback in terms of net worth. Bloodseeker is the one who's really been sacked here to a certain extent. Both him and the Bristleback pretty much doing equally well or bad. Mid lane, T-Dog making the plays, getting a pick off all by himself, playing the Quas, Eggs out Invoker. One that we don't see too much in this meta, and BLO, he's going to clean up top. Grimstroke will end up falling. Scant is here. The Cask will still connect. The Blood Right won the Sunstrike. Perfect. The Death Ward does the trick. Scant just keeping track of cooldowns on that Shadow Realm, drops the Death Ward prematurely and finds himself a kill. 3k net worth advantage in favor of the Dire. And the Clockwork, I think he did purchase the Tomb of Experience. That's going to help him hit 6. And now they can try and focus their attentions onto this Lone Druid a bit. This Grimstroke, I mean, he started out farming the lane like a core, but he's kind of slowed down. Speaking of cores, the Lina is going to end up dying mid. In the voice of Gabe Newell, Onage. Down bottom, Max putting that level 6 to good use, finds himself the Lone Druid, sets up for the Bloodseeker, nicely done by him. And BLR still has a little bit of movement speed and attack speed to work with. Heck, he even has a Bristleback looping in. This should be a death onto the Ogre. He's going to turn around, stun one, look for the TP, but the Cogs will push him back. Max with the plays. I'm going to bring down the KDA, and wow, Scantzor 7-1 and 3. The Clockwork 1-2 and 12. So both supports looking really, really good here. BLR going for that Blade Mail. I presume he's going to follow it up with the BKB. I think one of the better ways to Scan to really judge his teammates here is to probably look at how the cores itemize. Max with a huge player, breaks the smoke. And the Stroke of Fate doesn't even end up connecting on him.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Okay, I'm trying to keep my... I'm just going to keep chat open on the other screen. Okay. So we have a couple of questions, and we have a influx of viewers as well. So I'll try and answer these questions as best as I can. Max could have gone in, didn't want to, but yeah. So I'm not really sure how many players have applied, but basically there are 4 batches. So I'm guessing 4 into 4, that makes 16 players. So I presume 16 players have applied, and they're giving all 16 players a shot. So I initially thought that these would be lobby games, but they aren't going to be T-Dog. But yeah, they aren't going to be lobby games. Instead, they're going to be Scantzor or Jobeezy playing pubs with 4 players at a time. And for now, I mean, this batch seems to be doing rather well. I'm going to be casting a couple of batches. And I would recommend that if you are Divine 1 and above, do not queue for matchmaking at this point. Because this stack is honestly quite ridiculous. It's not about whether the pubs help. It's an opportunity for Scantzor to judge how these players play, and then filter 16 players down to 2 players. 2 players who him and Jobeezy will mentor in an Indian tournament called the ESL India Premiership. You're welcome, Anish. Radio, these aren't legit teams. These are Divine 1 and above players that are being screened so that 2 players can be selected and then mentored by Entity Gaming's coach, Scantzor, and Entity Gaming's 5-position player, Jobeezy. Fun fact, Scantzor also coached the really successful Happy Feet back in the day, and he also coached a much earlier version of Mineski. Not the Mineski you know of now. But yeah, Anish, you got it right. He's going to select 2 from all the players right now. Is that a Grimstroke Immortal? What the hell? I don't know. It's not just Divine 1 and above. Most of the Immortal players in India are already tied to organizations. I mean, if they wanted to break apart from the organization, they could take part in this. But yeah, the minimum criteria is Divine 1 and above. There's no cap. If you're a leaderboard player, you could try out. If you're Divine 5, you could. But you just have to be Divine 1 to get in the first place. We do have a handful of Indian Immortals. We had 3 players who all been top 10. We have 1 player who is in the top 10 right now. Goes by the name Minnow. No, wait. Minnow isn't in the top 10 right now. But yeah, we've had 3 players who've all been top 10. We have No Chance, who's 55. We have Blizzard. We have Swifty. They're all doing really well in terms of MMR. Minnow's top 50. Yeah. I think he has 2 accounts that are in the top 50. I'm not sure. But yeah, basically Scantzor and Job, they're going to be playing. I mean, Scantzor is playing 4 pubs. I don't know how many Jobeezy is playing. If it's, I don't know if Jobeezy is playing as many as Scantzor, but there are at least 16 people taking part in this. Hmm. this Grimstroke. I mean, I gotta say, I'm not all that impressed with how. I mean, he left his lane a bit too early. I feel could have gotten more out of his lane. He hasn't put a single point in the soulbind. He's holding on to his skill point, but he didn't put a point into it at level 6, which is odd. The thing about soulbind is it does have a somewhat short cast range. Manikanta, this is not going to be the new entity lineup. This is going to be just 2 players that the entity coach and the entity support are going to mentor. They will not make the new lineup. The new lineup hasn't been announced yet. No worries. I mean, I could give you rumors about what the entity lineup could be, but I mean, those are just meaningless rumors. The manager has gone and liked the pages of certain international players. I don't think we should read too much into it. As soon as the new lineup does become official, we'll be sure to push out an article on www.afkgaming.com. And yeah, hopefully I can get some of the new players for a podcast. Okay. Paintbrush man is disconnected. The Radiant are playing on the Dire. They've waited. They've taken their time. I'm sure Scantzor's even judging them by how well mannered they are or aren't in these pubs. I mean, you don't want to be mentoring people that are already toxic. So there are going to be 4 pubs that are going to take place in total. I'm probably going to call it a night after this one. 4 pubs means that I probably have to go way past midnight. Not the agenda for the day, a lot of other stuff to get to. But yeah, as soon as we know who these 2 players are, once again, we'll be pushing out an article on afkgaming.com. And hopefully I get Scantzor for a podcast. We've already done one with him. But I just want to understand a bit more as to what the aim is. Are these 2 players in any way going to comprise the entity squad? They're only selecting 2 players that plus Scantzor and Jobeezy. That's 4. Who's the 5th? Is it Sid Joshi? These kind of mysteries and questions, basically. I think I should just text unmute these players. I mean, this is one of the problems about judging folks in pubs, right? That there might be disconnects. Your opponent might lose mid and just walk down the mid lane. So it's essentially sometimes not a fair judgment of your teammate's skill. But it does give you a decent idea of how they play, how they approach the game. I think, yeah, Max, I mean, he's definitely been one of the standout performers here. Going in for the hook shot, the Sunstrike didn't quite connect. T-Dog did recognize that and does apologize promptly. But yeah, 10,000 net worth lead, 14 minutes in for Scantzor and the boys. And Yeah, no real aggressive vision. Scantzor just going out all by himself. Might get punished. Goes around upon him. Drops the cast. The bear is there. The root is well dead for doing a fair amount of work, but the Savage Row will quickly cancel it. Or was it the Curse Crown starting him up? I'm not quite sure, but that's his death. 641 goal for killing a Witch Doctor. Yeah, Max is playing quite. I mean, he's definitely been the standout performer for me so far. Even the Invoker's been pretty solid. Coming out on top in a lane he shouldn't have won in the first place, and more than just leading, he's made some high impact plays, with the exception of that one on strike in the mid lane. Just as we start singing praises about Max, it gets to him, gets to his head, misses the hook shot. Scant is there with the cask. It will bounce around. It will bounce around, and that Inkswell might just turn up Scan, but he doesn't care. Goes in with a Glimmer Cape, secures the kill, and they might even dive for more. I hear the rupture being committed elsewhere. It's for the Lone Druid, who steps outside the Blood Right. Clockwork running in. Bramble Maze on the floor. Will proc on both those supports. Will control them. The Lone Druid, he's got to be careful. He's dropped really low, but elsewhere, Jig with the Bedlam picks up one. It is Scan dying. And the Dire, they have got to be careful. But Clockwork turns around, drops the Urn Charge, and the Rocket Flare gets a kill. Ensures that Rupture isn't wasted. And yeah, raided. Investing 4 heroes heavily into that bottom lane skirmish. Just allow the mid lane to be pushed upon by the Invoker and the Bristleback. They're still fighting down bottom actually, which is quite surprising. And they won't find anyone. They see BLR, LSA a bit too late. Jang could have really... He could have got that Bloodseeker. I believe Max is a player from one of the southern states in India. I think he's from Chennai, if I'm not mistaken. Now, there are 2 Maxes. There are actually 3 Maxes in Indian Dota that I know. A really old Dota 1 player. A newer player from southern India. Oh, there was a Max, if I'm not mistaken, who played in U-Cypher as well. I'm not quite sure which Max this is. I think this is the Max who played in U-Cypher. Not quite remembering. I think he played along with Blue Frog. I could be wrong. Max and Blue Frog, yes, they did play in a team. But yeah. Lone Druid, he's got the Midas recipe. He's got the... Oh, Max! 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 You know what's really worrisome for the Radiant? None of them have got 4 stops. The Lina. Jeez. She is really poor. She's fallen behind Scantzor in terms of net worth. Yeah, she needs her Yules. Not just the Yules. She needs a 4-star. She needs so much. The Lone Druid isn't having much of a game either. And yeah, Miracle, or rather the Ogre, is gonna end up falling. The Dire in complete control of the game. And yeah, people are starting to abandon. Now, I'm not sure if this game is gonna count or not for Scant. But yeah. Well, the Lone Druid, the Willow, and the Ogre are going to try. Bristleback pops the hood for himself, drops the Blade Mail, and look at that. Lone Druid ruptured. He's going to be able to TP, but Max, with the hook shot, sees him from downtown and latches onto him. T-Dog, wicked sick. Immediate buyback coming out from the Lone Druid, but his tier 3 tower has fallen. Not really sure what sort of a defense he'll be able to muster up here. T-Dog once again with the Tornado. The Meteor, perfect. The Deafening Blast not needed, but there for style points. And a double kill for this Invoker. Bramble Maze gets tossed out. The Radiant, desperate to get something done. Toss out the Dragon's Haven, the Laguna. A lot of it being reflected courtesy that Blade Mail. If nothing else, as the Death Bot for good measure. They bring down the Lina. Scan gets another kill for himself. And Ah. Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of my friends are puzzled as to why I'm casting a pub. Because it shows that you're casting a game, but I think it does. I'm not sure. Anyways, Dyer, looking to close this game out. It's really a formality at this stage. The Bloodseeker cops a fair amount of damage. T-Dog, he's had some excellent sun strikes. That one nearly hit. But nonetheless, it looked good. Set up for the kill. Unstoppable on the Bloodseeker. The Lone Druid, just a casualty of war, dies on the side. Max hookshots onto the creep wave. I saw that, Max. We all did. They get the racks nonetheless. Quick Soulbind. Curse Crown will proc on to 2. Bedlam not doing too much. BLR in fact standing on the front lines with the Blade Maid. Returns the damage. Brings down the Dark Willow. Max is there with the cogs. They'll find another. And Miracle controlled by the Cold Snap. Maledict upon him. Should probably tick down. I mean, it's a bloodbath at this stage. This is ranked. This is ranked. Again. This is a ranked match. They're not doing lobbies with 5 players scrimming off versus each other. Just too many players, and they personally felt that the quickest way to do this would be to run pubs. 4 players plus Scantzor, 4 players plus Jobeezy. This is the first pub of many. And yeah, these are the first 4 players that have gotten the chance to scrim with Scan. Neo on the Bristleback, BLR on the Bloodseeker, T-Dog on the Invoker, and Max on the Clockwork. And yeah, this is ranked matchmaking. I don't think Entity's coach would make them play normal matchmaking or turbo matchmaking. Come on. Unfortunately, there's been a disconnect. And Terrorize is going to come through, couple up with the Savage Roar. Still not enough damage. The Radiant still fighting for what? I'm not really sure. T-God with the Blaze. And yeah, Lina spends a good 50% of her mana, gets that thing done. Lone Druid runs ahead. Wand and Aquila. Yeah, they're going to catch him. Wait, what? Okay, dodges the LSA, gets stunned by the Fire Blast, has backup in the way. Scan, man of the hour, drops a dead ball, gets himself a double kill. If nothing else, Scantzor's going to be selected for his own team. Max has a Blink Dagger. And Max enables T-Dog yet again. You do, but you're often queued with people of your own rank. And I think, I mean, sure, individual skill is a big factor here when Entity are looking for a player, but it's, I remember Scantzor stressing the importance of communication. In the one podcast that I did do with him, it's on the AFK Gaming YouTube, you can check it out. Finding a leader, having a voice within the team, these are skills that he values as much as just being a highly skilled player. And I think those skills, they can be tested out in a pub match or in a lobby game. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's a reasonably competitive game of Dota, I'm sure you can find out who's a good teammate to play with. BLR driven by Bloodlush gets a triple kill. Less than 4, more than 2, but yeah. As Gaben put it. But yeah, they're going to end up winning. Again, there are going to be a bunch of games taking place. I'm not going to be covering all of them. They're going on into the wee hours of the night or morning. We will publish an article on our website, www.afkgaming.com, as soon as we know who the 2 players are that do get selected. For now, though, this is Veewake taking a leave, and see you again. We've got ESL 1 Hamburg coming up in October. We're going to be casting the Southeast Asian Open qualifier for that one. We also have a couple of podcasts coming up. Some of them with players post the TI Shuffle. I'm not going to give out too much just now, but yeah, do stay tuned. Do hit the subscribe button on our YouTube. And yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me at facebook.com/Veewake casting. Thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye and good night.